Right then guys, how's it going and welcome back to Toon Tuesdays, your weekly roundup of Newcastle United news. I hope you guys are all doing good. 1-1 draw for Newcastle United at the weekend against West Ham, which for me was a good point. A good point away from home against a good side. It does unfortunately mean that the win streak is officially over, but the 6-game undefeated streak continues. And as I say, last weekend with a 1-1 against West Ham, for me, was a good point. Today's video, we will talk about that West Ham game. I'd also want to talk about, the 6 games undefeated as well and how we've played, across the last month or so. And we'll probably finish off with a little preview for the Brentford game as well. I should say I am off work this week, so I've been out and about enjoying my day. I did record this video while I was out and about, but that wind is relentless. So we're in the car. I thought, you know what, we're going to do it in here where you guys can actually hear me. So, as I say, West Ham game, going into it, 3 games on the trot that would won. I knew it was going to be a tough one. Let's be honest, we are fighting to not get relegated this season. They are fighting to get a Champions League spot. So it was always going to be a tough game. To add to that, for me, we played that game without our 3 best players. We'll talk about Callum Wilson. Unfortunately, we know he's going to be injured for some time now. But he is obviously our #1 striker. Trippier, he couldn't play again. We're having to get used to that, unfortunately, because he's going to be out for the next 6 to 8 weeks. But also, someone who I thought was going to start, no Saint-Max. No Saint-Max. And I've got to be honest, looking at that team sheet without him, it did worry me a little bit. But thankfully, Willock stepped up, put the ball in the back of the net. In terms of that game, it was sort in the Villa game as well. And generally just across the last 6 games or so, what we've seen from this team is just complete composure. It is so strange to watch a Newcastle side and not be worrying for the last 10-15 minutes. We saw it against Aston Villa with the 1-0 win. Despite being up in the game, you look back to, when Steve Bruce was in charge and the way we kind of just panicked at the end of games. We didn't do it against Aston Villa. And, against West Ham, there was a moment, I think in the first half, where Dan Burn and Shaw were just passing the ball to each other for like 5-10 minutes. And my friend jokingly said, are we going to do this all game? And I went, I wouldn't mind if we did, to be honest, because if it ended 0-0, against West Ham away, I'd take it, to have that composure to the ball at Dan Burn, turns out, looks forward, no option, back to Shaw, Shaw turns out, no option, and to just have that calm and composure to do that was so good to watch, and we were still doing it come the end of the game as well. Lascelles, obviously club captain, sat on the bench for that game, and that we already know Shaw's good on the ball. We've known that, but to put alongside him someone like Dan Burn and Trippier obviously wasn't fit, but I think Matty Target is good on the ball as well. I think Kraft let himself down with the free kick, but ultimately did okay. I'm hoping that Manquillo was back in time for the Brentford game this weekend. But you look at, how we would play under pressure with Lascelles lumping it long, Kraft lumping it long, nowhere to go, back to Dubravka lumps it long. Like, we weren't doing that. There was Matty Target, man, so solid in that left-back position. Again, he's happy to bring the ball in. Again, look at like the Dummett or whoever who would generally just lump it long as well. The way Eddie Howe wants to play is with defenders who are not afraid to pass the ball around. Unfortunately, Lascelles doesn't really fit that. I'm a bit of a romantic in that I would like to see Lascelles be able to stick around a little bit longer, because he did stick with us, through a lot of tough times in the Championship and stuff, but he's going to struggle to find his place when we've got players like Dan Burn and Shaw playing like that. I think Shaw's pretty much renewed his own contract in just 2 games alone with how much better he's been. You know, for me, that's kind of me talking about the West Ham game, but a lot of that is all talking about the last 6 games. You know, certainly the last 3 or 4 games where we've really kind of, and you know, Trippier came in. It was almost pretty much when Trippier came in himself. You know, so you've got to think it's Eddie Howe, but it's Eddie Howe's signings in Dan Burn, Trippier. I think, you know, despite the fact that he's injured, I would not be surprised that if off the field, he's still definitely contributing to kind of what these guys are doing, or at least what he's been able to tell them on the field before he got injured is still being done by those players, because that's exactly what it looks like. The only thing that wasn't so great in that game, and at the end of the day, Eddie Howe's come in, and he said it himself, he wanted to get the fundamentals right. He wanted to do the simple things first. And I do feel like that's exactly what we've seen in the last few games is take a deep breath, look for a pass, try and go forward. And again, when Lascelles and Shaw or whoever would have the ball between each other, you know, a few months ago, or whoever was playing, it was constant, like, panic stations. Where can I pass it? Can I go forward? Where we're going? You know, sometimes you can feel like you've got the ball, but you're doing nothing with it. It didn't feel like that in the West Ham game. It felt like it was okay for us to have the ball and take our time. But the one thing that West Ham, for me, looked better at was the attacking edge that they had. I mean, we had more of the ball. We had about the same amount of shots, but it felt different when Antonio and Bowen were running at our back line than it did when we were going forward. And it's not, I mean, they've got different players and they're playing in a different way, you know, but that's one thing that I'm hoping we can now add to. And as I say, without Saint-Max, we didn't look as threatening as I would like us to be. And I know Saint-Max gets a little bit of stick from time to time about, you know, losing the ball in bad areas, and sometimes throws his toys out the pram if things aren't going well for him. But I think without him, you know, we don't look as hot going forward. But, again, Eddie Howe wanted to do the simple things right first and then look at what he can do next. So I'm hoping that now what we've seen over the last few games has been getting those simple things right. This week's training or whatever, or starting to progress into a side that is trying to create that little bit more. Trying to, you know, Joe Linton, who's a player who's been fantastic winning the ball in midfield, maybe giving him a little bit more of a license to maybe try and go a little bit more forward as well. I think Willock, to be fair, was brilliant at picking the ball up and taking it forward. But once he got there, Chris Wood can be a little bit static. You know, Murphy isn't Saint-Max. So that's what I'd like to see next, is for us to try and not ask the question of why isn't Chris Wood scoring, to start asking the question, how can we get Chris Wood scoring? What can we do differently going forward? Is it trying to ask Target to make more runs around the back, or whoever's playing right back to do the same, trying to cross the ball in that little bit more? I'm hoping that we will see more of that. And going into a Brentford game, playing against the Brentford side, who, again, you know, you look at the fact that the relegation battle was the bottom 4 with Newcastle, Burnley, Watford, Norwich. Newcastle winning 3 games in a row. Norwich winning 2 games not long ago. Bad results for us at the weekend, really, seeing both Burnley and Watford winning. Suddenly it's opened up into what is possibly a 7-team relegation battle with Leeds, Everton, Brentford. And to be honest, just a couple of points further forward is Crystal Palace, and then you're in the top half. You know, so it's really all catching up very quickly. I think right now, I would say that Brentford are just about out of the relegation battle, but depending on what happens this weekend, I think they could well be straight in it. If Newcastle are able to win this weekend, that's 3 points further away for us. We are, and it's 3 points closer to them as well. Well, we'd go past them. Oh, I should have looked at the league table before I started this video. I'm pretty sure we go 1 point above them if we are able to win this game, and that would therefore definitely put them in the relegation fight. We are a team 6 games undefeated. They are a team who hasn't won in 7, 8 now. 1 or 2 points in terms of draws, but haven't won a game in a long time. And it's a game I'm fully looking at and hoping that we can pick up 3 points. You know, I think 3 points against West Ham would have been tremendous. But I think you've also got to look at, get the point against a good side, keep the heads held high, go into another away game against a team who are really struggling at the moment. And I've got to say, if we can stay as cool, calm and collected against Brentford as we did against West Ham, I think in terms of keeping the ball out, I think we can do very well in this game. I'm praying that Maxi's back, because I think with him, that gives us that cutting edge that we need going forward. Hopefully that's something that we're practicing in training this week already. But I do think against a team like Brentford, as opposed to a team like West Ham, or even potentially Aston Villa, you know, where chances are harder to come by, I'm hoping that instead of Chris Wood having 1 or 2 efforts on goal, we can really give him that chance of 3, 4, 5, and hopefully he can stick at least one of them in the net. But let me know your thoughts down below on the West Ham game, the Brentford game, but also just generally what you've thought of Newcastle over the last 6 games. I'll be back tomorrow to do my full predictions for all the Premier League teams, including Newcastle Brentford. So if you want to check out my prediction, be sure to watch my video tomorrow. If you are still watching this video almost 12 minutes later and you haven't subscribed, then please hit that button, because it makes a big difference to me. All right, guys, enjoy your week. Thank you for watching. I'll catch you later.